So we find ourselves today fishing some quite difficult conditions really on the river for the predators. I say difficult, oh there we go, woodpecker up there in the trees. We are on the Severn today, again after the predators, and we've come down to find the river is actually 8 foot up, flowing highly coloured, and is pretty much impossible. So we've moved into the lock channel itself, the usual hotspot of ours, and we're just going to quickly run through some of the tips that we use for fishing in such conditions, in coloured, perhaps coloured water conditions. I've got here a range of things we can use. Of course, we've got the Dynamite Baits Predator pike paints, which are brilliant. These are super because they come with an inbuilt brush that you can paint directly onto the baits to give extra smell, leaching out into the water in such conditions when the predators perhaps are relying a little more on scent than smell to find the baits. Additionally, we've got the winterised fish oils. Carry a range of those with us, just a couple here. I think it's lamprey and smelt. Of course, they've got to be winterised in order for them to leach off in cold water conditions, and these are superb to inject into your dead baits if you're using deads in such conditions. And that leads on nicely really to the use of syringes. Use them for a range of applications really in predator fishing. We've got here a couple just ready to go, and you'll notice that there's a number of different size needles here. The larger bore needles are quite useful for injecting air into baits if we want to fish them popped up off the bottom, and again are also useful for perch fishing for air injected lodworms, perhaps if you want to pop the lodworms up off the deck. And then there's a range of smaller needles for different viscosity baits. Usually the wider bore needles are used for oils, whereas perhaps the thinner bore needles are used for just flavourings. So we use those then in conjunction with the oils and any other flavourings you might use. And then of course you've got the option perhaps to dye your baits as well. Perhaps we wouldn't do this today, it wouldn't make much difference in the conditions we're fishing in, but these particular ones from Witchwood are brilliant because they spray straight on the baits. And how I do this, I'll take the baits out of the freezer, give them a good spray both sides, leave them to thaw for a while and then pop them back in the freezer, and as they refreeze they draw the dye deep inside the bait, so that's a quick easy way of doing it. And finally, the faller fish. This is quite useful for lure fishing. It apparently gives a glow to baits when they're going through the water. So there's a few tips then on flavourings and oils for use in heavily coloured conditions where the predators are relying more on scent than they are on sight to hunt.